Hello, and welcome to the Barracks, a discussion of veterans' issues in Milwaukee. I'm your host, John Glovatsky. We have a great show planned tonight. We are going to be talking about the issues of homeless veterans in Milwaukee, and we'll also be visiting a group of volunteers helping to improve the lives of local homeless vets. We will also have an in-studio performance from local musician Jesse Freeward. But first, let me introduce you to my in-studio guest. First, welcome the president of the Milwaukee Area Technical College Veteran Student Organization, Vic Fowler.
Good evening.
And next, please welcome the director of the CVI Veterans Resource Center, Mike Beal.
Good evening.
Well, you might hear a lot of terms or sayings when you hang around veterans that you might not completely understand as a civilian. There is a completely new language a person learns when they make the decision to join any branch of the armed services. The first question I want to ask is about mission. That's a term I know we can all be familiar with. So Vic, what is the mission of the Veteran Student Organization?
The mission of the Veteran Student Organization, or VSO, is to improve the lives and quality of life of student veterans at Milwaukee Area Technical College.
Okay, great. And Mike, what is the mission of the CVI Veterans Resource Center?
In short, the mission of CVI is to provide the veteran with whatever service he or she will need to kind of enhance their way of life. If it's housing, employment, if it's just counseling, because a veteran has AODA issues, whatever the case may be, CVI is there to provide that service.
Okay, great. Well, the next question I'd like to ask is about how, because I am a civilian, so it's,
we try not to hold it against you.
Right. Yeah. Well, thank you.
We understand.
Yeah. I appreciate it. Yes. Well, I just are you able to talk me through how or why the transition from military life to civilian life can tend to lead to these types of problems?
When you come out of the military, you're faced with the consequence of you're not being followed. You're not being told what to do. You're not being directed. And it's kind of like a kid going to college for the first time, away from the supervision of their parents. They have a tendency to go nuts, kind of crazy.
Right.
So veterans kind of do the same thing. Without the direction, some veterans have a hard time.
Absolutely. And then, you know, on average, a veteran has spent anywhere initially from 4 to 6 to 8 years in the service, and have become adapted to a regimented lifestyle. And when you get out here in the civilian community, it's difficult to understand that sort of lifestyle, that regimented way of living, is not as existent as it was when you were in the service. I mean, you take a job and you have a task that you perform, but it's not like it was when you're in the military. You don't assign as much importance to it as if it was something that was more or less, something that would save a life.
Sure.
Yeah.
Also, veterans don't have to pay heat bills in the military.
Okay. Sure. So there's all kinds of.
Their food is taken care of.
That's right.
Their transportation is taken care of.
That's
right.
Their clothing is taken care of.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Sure. And it's getting used to all those new things.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's a major transition.
Most veterans go into the military right out of high school.
Okay.
And from high school to the military, being controlled, if you will, contrived lifestyle for them, and them coming out, they don't have the opportunity to gradually transition from military to a civilian lifestyle. They have to do it all at once. And that can be overwhelming for anybody that's coming out of the military, used to supervision, direct supervision, and not having that anymore.
That's right.
I see. Yeah, and coming out of high school, which is very similar situation.
That's right.
At least my experience would be. Well, one of the largest challenges facing veterans in our city is the possibility of homelessness. And no matter the circumstances that led to their situation, it's something that needs to be addressed. And luckily, there is a local group comprised mostly of veterans working hard to provide assistance to local homeless vets.
And I think there's a stigma with veterans. It's hard to ask for help. You're trained to be self-sufficient. You're trained to be a tough kind of person, whether you're male or female. There's that stigma that you don't need help. We call this the Milwaukee Homeless Veterans Initiative Bunker. Anyone that's a vet kind of gets that. So 1 in 4 homeless people in the city of Milwaukee are a veteran. Some of our vets that we've worked with have had severe PTSD, which led to other things. Maybe it was drug or alcohol abuse. Something that kind of snowballed and perhaps got them into a bad situation where they really struggled, and through some of those struggles found themselves homeless or severely at risk of becoming homeless. When you're used to being at a certain place at a certain time every day, being told where to be, when to do it, and how to do it, and then you're kind of released back to, civilian life, and not that we aren't capable of doing all of those things, but when you suddenly don't have that, you're kind of like, okay, now what do I do? Whether it's getting into using your education benefits or, just looking for a career, whatever it might be, but you kind of feel a little disorientated when you come back. And sometimes you don't always know where those resources are or who to connect with to, make some of those other connections. Or some of your younger vets too, I think, you probably don't own a home yet. You might not be married, you might not have any children yet. You're a little more focused on going back to school. You don't have roots anywhere quite yet. You might not have your career figured out or what you want to do. So when you're in that limbo and you're trying to find your niche, if you will, when you get back home, it can be a little bit of a struggle. Well, we do have a growing number of families that we service, whether it's a husband and wife and a few children, or a single mom or dad with some children. That is obviously, all of our vets are priority, but especially when they have young children. Basically, we look for core items. So if someone is moving into an apartment, they're making that transition from being homeless to moving into their own home. A lot of times they have nothing but a backpack. So items that we look for, if you think about when you walk into your house, some of your necessities, you could have food, but if you have no way to prepare it. So that's where the importance of your pretty basic, your kitchen utensils, pots, pans, what do you drink out of, things like that perhaps we kind of take for granted. Other household items like maybe your coffee drinker, toasters, microwaves are always really popular items with our vets. Toiletry items, for obvious reasons, you want to be able to take a shower, clean up, whether they're going to work, school, or whatever is in their day-to-day schedule. So those items, where some people might think they are fairly inexpensive and easy to access, sometimes that is not always the case. So we try to fill some of those voids, some extra things that they don't have to worry about going out and purchasing. We had a very busy November this year, and I would say we averaged between 10 and 15 deliveries. So we moved in 10 to 15 vets, whether it was an individual or a family, a week. I want to say November we had between 38 and 40 veterans and their families that we helped just with the furniture program alone. As you mentioned, there's a camaraderie that's built between, it doesn't matter the branch of service you're in, it doesn't matter the era that you served. I've found that a lot of vets, when you get them in a room together and are, doing something positive, there's always a lot of good stories about your time in service. And you know, I think a lot of the people that come here, whether they give us an hour of their time or 6 hours of their time, they're here because they understand the need is there, and they're willing to take time out of, you know, people are busy, you know. We're very fortunate that we have so many people that are willing to give us some of their time to help the veterans that we serve. Without our volunteers, we wouldn't be able to do and reach the amount of veterans that we do.
Again, you can check out the Milwaukee Homeless Veterans Initiative at mkehomelessvets.org. Well, it's really great to see that these organizations are out there providing these much needed services. And it was mentioned in the video that the majority of the workers for the Homeless Vet Initiative are volunteers. Do you think that it's important to the people using the service that they are receiving support from other veterans?
I would definitely say this.
Yeah.
Veterans are a small, close-knit community. Okay, you're talking about a small group of people.
Okay.
But one thing that you take, for example, the veterans group here in Milwaukee, they all pretty much know each other. But it's about trust. In order for a veteran to open up and ask for help, you have to trust the person that you're talking to. Sure. And in order for you to do that, that person has to understand what you're saying. They got to have been where you've been, perhaps even gone through what you've gone through.
Yeah,
you
certainly.
know, veterans here are, like I said before, they're extremely close-knit, and they're not the most trusting bunch to outsiders, you know.
Okay, sure.
When a veteran receives a service, first thing he'll do is he'll go and tell his other vets. If it's a good service, he'll direct the vets who to go see, sure, where to go. At the same token, now if he received a bad service, if there was a service that he was dissatisfied with, here again, you know, the grapevine, as we call it, you know, is something else, you know, in the veterans community.
Yeah. If I may, the veterans, it's a huge amount of trust, and for the majority of homeless vets here, a lot of them are combat arms. Now, combat arms is veterans that served on the front line or possibility of serving on the front line. With that comes a huge amount of sheltering of your feelings, your emotions. In combat arms, I was in the Armor Corps, and a lot of what happens is weakness is viewed as a liability. And when you talk about vulnerability, or you talk about something that you can't handle, or something that makes you emotional, in the military you're taught to put that away. That's not a good thing to do. You have to keep control in your emotions. I think about the veteran coming out of the military, never allowed to use those emotions for or against himself. Sure. Experiencing emotions at the same time, being put under an extreme amount of pressure. That is overload, that's sensory overload. Whereas veterans can be overcome with being able now finally to experience emotions and then not knowing what to do with it.
Right. And now I think, I'm not sure, I guess, but I think a lot of times when I think of veterans, I do think of them as men. And as we were talking, is that the truth that a lot of the problems are coming for men exclusively, or?
If I can tackle that one.
Yeah, sure.
At the Center for Veterans Issues, what we're beginning to see is that women are coming forth in record numbers, needing assistance. It can be anything from sexual trauma, post-traumatic stress, or she could just be in a situation where she's homeless. What we're also noticing is that when women come forth, there are also dependent children that are kind of tagging along with the woman that also need assistance.
Sure.
Okay? One program that could address this, that does address this, is the SSVF program, which is Supportive Services for Veterans and Families. This program allows an organization to provide financial support for housing, counseling, If a female veteran, not just female veteran, male veteran, if a veteran needs any type of housing assistance, be it moving, storage fees, anything like that, this program is able to assist them. And it is the first time that a program has come along that can assist the whole family instead of just a veteran.
That's
and I think that's a good thing, because a lot, I mean, it's hard to, help just the veteran when the veteran has dependent children or a spouse that also needs assistance. And finally, the VA in their infinite wisdom have come up with a program that really addresses these needs.
That's excellent.
Close your eyes once.
Yes.
Draw a picture of a veteran. What do you
Yes.
come up with? Think about a woman. Think about that point. And and a woman saying, I'm a veteran, I count. And you're unable to relate to that because you did not see that in your John Wayne movie.
Right.
The women were women were nurses.
Yes.
They weren't on the front lines. Now women are going on the front lines. It's a very important portion of that.
Yeah,
Well, they're also coming out of the military in the same way, being in the same way that we are coming out of the military.
Sure.
And they're not being represented the way they need to be represented.
I see.
Well, a lot of women that, and in this day and age, it's a shame to say, but a lot of women don't even realize that they're veterans. We meet, female veterans that come through on a daily basis who don't realize they have benefits.
Okay,
And
sure.
that's a sad thing.
Is there a portion of that could be from society saying that women veterans, or there are no women?
Right,
women,
sure, yeah,
Where
yeah.
did you get this idea, women
Absolutely.
veterans? So you didn't serve.
Yeah.
Only men fight in the battles. You didn't fight in the battle.
Yeah.
Oh, there's your ideal, and then there's your hardship with coming to reason with that, both from the civilian side and from the veteran side.
Absolutely.
A woman is not told to value her service, that her service was not good enough or disproportionate to the man's service.
Yeah.
And that's a very unfair equation that we're putting on people.
Yeah. Well, our next guest is a local veteran and a singer/songwriter with influences in the high-energy alternative rock world. From East of Free, Jesse Freeward.
This first song is called Have to Lose. I turn the power off to the room today, but this fan just keeps on spinning. Well, tapping torments, romance my pain. Is this all that I have to lose? Is this all that I have to lose? Oh God, why me? Oh God, why me? So hurt me, change me, show me a sign. Need your help now, somehow throw me a line. Oh God, help me. Oh God, help me to see the divine. I wish that things turned out differently. Had I realized mistakes long before this point in my life, far too late to fix anything. Were you all that I had to lose? Were you all that I had to lose? Oh God, why me? Oh God, why me? Hurt me, your help now, somehow throw me a line. Oh God, help me. Oh God, help me to see the divine. So hurt me, change me, show me a sign. Need your help now, somehow throw me a line. Oh God, help me. Oh God, help me to see the divine. All right, this next one's called Never Keep Me Down. Looking back at what I've seen, there are things I would like to change, but they make me who I am today. Is the mistakes that I've made are staring back at me, and they will not leave me alone. Just go away, the wound's already sewn. There's no regrets, there's no incision too deep for me to not get back on my feet. 'Cause this world will never keep me down. I miss the birth of my daughter from being over season. I couldn't come home last year. I lost my father. The thing I hate is I never got to say goodbye. There's no regrets, there's no incision too deep for me to not get back on my feet. 'Cause this world will never keep me down. There's no regrets, there's no incision too deep for me to not get back on my feet. 'Cause this world will never keep me. There's no regrets, there's no incision too deep.
From the Milwaukee Area Technical College Veteran Student Organization, Vic Fowler. From CVI Veterans Resource Center, Mike Beal. And of course, Jesse Freeward. I also want to thank the good people at the Milwaukee Homeless Veterans Initiative. Please check out all these groups and help support veterans both locally and nationally, even if the only thing you can give is a thank you. I'm John Glavatsky. Thank you so much for stopping by the Barracks.